is donderdag aand en dit beteken natuurlik ons is hier op die Losgemaal en is uiteindelik hier mense, ons is URC is verby, ons is klaar gepraat. Ek wou amper sê die karikap is klaar verby, maar ek dink hy gaan nou eintlik begin, maar wie gee om, want ons gaan nou daarop fokus. Ek sien Mier is hard in sy notas, so Mier, baie welkom by die show. Hoef nie soveel rond te kyk nie, ons het omtrent net een wedstryd waarop ons fokus vanaand.
Hallo Hein, kan sien die Leeu's en die Sharks stuur weer af op 'n wedstryd. Jy byt vroeg aan my. So nee, maar die groot wedstryd natuurlik. Ek is bly om te sien jy het ook jou groen en goud daaraan en ons sien baie uit na 'n baie groot wedstryd hierdie naweek. Toets RUGBY. So ja, baie om oor te gesels.
Absoluut. Nee, ons kan nie wag nie. Ons het natuurlik nie soveel van die gereelde gesigte vanaand nie, want ons is 'n bietjie divide and conquer, so hulle sê, want daar's 'n paar al klaar besig om gees te vang aan meer en meer se kant van die soos hulle wag vir die wedstryd, maar ons is seker die meeste van ons gaan daarom in die selfde omgewing wees omtrent môre hierdie tyd en definitief Saterdag hierdie tyd. Maar net vir hierdie geleentheid, mense, het ons besluit we're going to do it slightly differently tonight. We need to have a different perspective. Everyone knows what myself and Mir thinks about the South African game and everything that's going on, but we need a little bit of a perspective from the other side of the pond. So we're welcoming Nigel on the show tonight. Nigel, welcome, no pressure, representing the Irish tonight.
Oh dear. The Irish will not be happy about that, believe me. How you doing, guys? Good to see you.
Great stuff. Oh, good, Nigel. We definitely good this side. I think just quickly as a intro into this, I mean, obviously you do your own podcast and stuff that side, chatting about the Irish game, and just give us a little bit of feel. I mean, I think you probably picked it up a little bit in that intro. We all super excited about international rugby, about our springboks. It's the first time we're going to see them. It's been a long while. Not exactly the same case probably for the Irish. It's that old argument of end of the season almost for you guys, start of the season for us. Just in terms of the vibe and the excitement, that side is everyone very excited. I'm not going to talk about the Ulster and provincial things here, but Irish-wise, excited about this one, or is it seen a little bit more ho-hum than this side?
Oh, no, I think there's plenty of excitement about the game this weekend. No doubt about it. Maybe the Irish are not just as vocal as some of the South African fans online. I would say that's some are, some aren't. But no, I think everybody's looking forward to the game. You're right. Well, in a sense, it's the start of your international series, I suppose. But for your players, I mean, most of them play in the URC, so they've had a long season as well, haven't they? So I don't think that plays too much into it. Obviously, we've had the Six Nations, which Ireland won, bar the game against England. They would have had another Grand Slam, but that's another story for another day. But no, I think there's plenty of excitement for the game. I know I'm certainly looking forward to it. I'll be sitting with a beer watching it and cheering on as we do.
There we go. I think before we roll up our sleeves and get into it, I think the one thing that South Africans can probably admit, if they put a few other things aside, is that we have respect for the Irish and the fact that they're probably just as passionate about us and that they're enjoying a pint while they're watching the rugby as well. So there's a very, very little difference there. Mira, obviously the Irish do have to feel pretty confident going on tour and at this end of year tours, they pretty much got things started last time around by going down under and getting the job done, or not down under, but next door to the Kiwis and getting the job done against the All Blacks. So there shouldn't be a shortage of confidence that they can get the job done on this side.
Definitely. I think for me it's quite important to also look where we are in the season. Having basically just starting the international season for us, and normally we use the end of year tours to experiment a little bit and maybe choose one or two options, but Ireland have not come here. There's a few interesting team selections there which we will get to, but I'm not sure the team they've selected, they're here to win it, and they know what's on the line. And let's not forget, the last time South Africa beat Ireland was in 2016. So it's been a while. It's been 8 years. It's not a lot of fixtures between the two teams, but it's in my head. We need to make this one count.
Oh no. Oh no. Not that long.
That started early as well. But listen, I see some people are welcome to everyone who's watching live as well, and people are talking about the team selection and things. So let's take care of this one little piece of business, if you want. We talked about the result last time around. So the All Blacks new coach, fresh start, Nigel, a whole new page, and I think to a degree you can probably say the same thing about England. You know, it's a fresh faced side. They're looking to go into a new era, and I think looking to get things on the up. But it's not an easy place to start going to New Zealand.
No, it's not. But I think England are obviously a little bit further along in their journey. They've got a Six Nations under their belt. We played them in the Six Nations. They had our number in that game. It was a close game, but they knew what they were doing. This is going to be a tight game, I think. And you probably, something in your head tells you New Zealand are slight favourites, but this England side can spring surprises. I think they were quite good in the World Cup. They played a very bland type of rugby, frankly, but they didn't do that in the Six Nations. I'm actually quite excited to see this game because I really don't know how it's going to go. I really don't. The two fairly unknown entities in both teams and the coaches and how they play, particularly the Kiwis, that we haven't seen them yet. But really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to all the games, though. I mean, you're talking to a guy that once watched the Korean Army play some Hyundai sponsored team on Facebook once, where one team was obviously coached by a forward and the other by a back. I enjoyed it. It was rugby, Yeah. So I don't know how that will go. It's a tight one, I think.
No, we definitely share that in common as well. But I think we can probably say, Mir, that it's a case of we've seen what England can do, and when they hit those levels, they are going to be tough to beat. They're just not there what you can expect them to do that week in and week out. And it's a case of what are we going to get this week, first out of the blocks against the All Black team that might be rusty but also very hungry.
Yeah, it's all about consistency. I don't think England is there yet in terms of consistently putting out those performances, you just don't know. It feels like the French, of the 90s, 80s. So we'll without the flair. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens on Saturday. Scott Robinson's his first the first side that he picked is also very interesting. You've got Perifetta there on fullback, which is quite interesting for me. I don't know. You've got Bowden Barrett, World Player of the Year 3 times, and I just can't understand why the All Black coaches can't back him as a fly-off and just get it over and done with, And he's sitting on the bench again this weekend, and I don't know about that. But it's a lot of changes from the World Cup final, the All Black team, the 12-11 World Cup final. The tight five is quite similar, with only Brody Retallick not there and Tuipulotu coming in. But the rest of the team is quite different. TJ Pereira working his way back into the starting team, and a few guys having fallen out of favor, your Caleb Clarks and those kind of players. I don't know, maybe injuries or whatever. I know a lot of guys retired. Some guys moved to Japan, but it just, I think Nigel in his opening said it. We just don't know what to expect here. And we're obviously going to follow it closely because there's a rugby championship that's lurking also in the shadows, so later this year.
Yeah, definitely a lot for Rassie and the team to scout. Nigel, just on Robinson there for a little bit, do you expect them, they've put all their chips, you don't want to say put all their chips on black, but the All Blacks are backing him to really turn things around. For them, obviously, it wasn't that the wheels have completely come off. They were in the final and just lost out, and 14 men and all of that, but they've definitely said, this is the guy for the long run, and they're expecting big things from your perspective. Are you looking forward to this new era of the All Blacks?
He's a character, isn't he? And there's no denying what he did with the Crusaders. They were a dominant side with him as coach. So it's international rugby, though. He's dealing with some different players. It's probably going to take him a little while to get his personality on that team. I don't think you'll see it from the first game. It's going to be a journey. So that's why I think this weekend's game could be a little bit of a potential upset, if you like, but I think it'll be a close game. But it's going to be interesting to see where he takes this team. And we just don't know that yet until we've seen him play a few times. You know, I think we'll need to see the Rugby Championship. And we'll know a lot more after that, you know, because he will play to win it. We know he will. And whereas, you know, Rassie will probably have 3 squads in 3 different countries. Oh, no, he only does that in World Cup years, doesn't he? What a nice position to be in, though. No, I think he's well played to win it this time. But I think that's a great opportunity, I think, for South Africa as well this time in the Rugby Championship, because you are playing a team with a new coach that's going to have to find his way under him. Now, that may happen quickly. It very seldom does at international level. It's going to take him a few games to get them where he wants to be.
It is, I think, the big thing that we've said, and we'll probably go on to that in the next game as well, is just the excitement factor. I mean, it's always that very first year after World Cup, there's always just this kind of clean slate, you know. Some, as you say, are further along in their journeys and some are early. I mean, we can touch on the Aussies as well. It's, you know, for a lot of them, it's kind of a blank page, and you're looking to see what they're going to start writing in this one. Obviously, the Springboks a little bit in a different position, Ireland as well, where they've got settled teams and just looking to tinker here and they're finding a few replacements for key players, but the core is still the same. The way they play is the same. And maybe Mir, just before we go on to that big one, the Aussies, I was going to warn Nigel there that the big thing for us, they might think we don't like the Irish a lot, but we certainly don't like the Poms and the Aussies. So that's they take first pick. So we're not really going to get excited about the Australian team, but certainly on their side, you're almost hoping that it's going to be a interesting era and a good one for them, just to make sure that interest in rugby union just stays there.
Yeah, we need Australia and World Rugby. You know, we're running out of teams to win World Cups. You know, if I can put it that way. So we need these teams to be strong. So I wish Australia well in this season. They've got a lot of challenges there with the rugby league and the Aussie rules and all those different codes that they've got there. And the money is just not in union, and it's a slippery slope they're on. But yeah, so I hope that somewhere along the line they can get 23 guys together who can just sort of reignite interest and reignite. The Australians are great sports people. They've got incredible talent. So what did I just say? But anyway, it almost sounded like I liked them. But anyway, yeah, they do have that never say die attitude, and when they're on fire, you know, they can be good. So I just think that the pool they have to select from is just shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, and interest is dwindling. So yeah, we need them to seriously come back, and I wish them well. Yeah.
Nigel, not the worst opponents to start off with. They probably could have had it worse by starting against the Irish team, for example. So a little bit of an opportunity for Australia to get going. Not that I'm saying that they have no chance of losing that one, but if you could probably pick one of them, this would be the right way to go.
Yeah, well, you know, Welsh rugby's in a very, very bad place at the moment. It's in a similar position. And it's not through other sports. It's through financing, and it's through, if you speak to Welsh fans, it's through not spending their finances properly. They've got a huge deficit. They're cutting their squads. They're cutting their budgets. An awful lot of their international side retired after the World Cup, and strangely enough, a lot of them retired when Gatland was announced as coach. And I don't know if there's a synergy there, but the timing was strange. He's our new coach. Well, I'm off. I'm retired. So he's dealing with a very young crop of players. And yeah, I think Australia couldn't pick a better opponent this time. They will be favourites, I think, to win this, despite their own problems, because Wales really are in a bad place. And hopefully they can pull it back. I mean, their regions are not awfully well supported back home or away. It's only really derbies that they get big support. So on the internationals, it's a very strange setup. And I think it's what Donald Lennon once said, that they've got these 4 teams that are Mickey-uppy teams, and the fans have never bought into this. But it's a sad place. It's sad to see, and I hope they improve it. But they seem to be trying to fix it. But they've got a big financial gap somewhere. But their finances incoming are better than Ireland's, believe it or not. They actually bring in more money than the RFU. So something's wrong. But yeah, I'd have to, looking at the youth and that squad, the upset, we had a player walk out just over a week ago because he wasn't happy at the way Gatland was treating him. So it strikes me that maybe not everything's rosy in the garden, in the changing room. So yeah, it's hard to see Australia not winning this weekend, to be honest, for me.
Sometimes they find a way, but it's 2 teams of mountains to climb, and it will be interesting to see where they go in this next phase. Just I've tried my best to put icing on it and to dress it up, but we've handled everything now except the main event. So I think we really need to dig into that one just quickly, though. So Shep there popping in and saying hi to us, and obviously a mutual connection there, and then the other man, Andrew Daniel, as well. I have to say thanks for connecting us there as well, Nigel. So thanks to Andy. Always good having him. He's going to have to pop in again, I think, sometime soon. But he tries to stay away from us Saffers. He doesn't want to get involved too often. That's what he does. Let's have a look at this one, gents. Let's have a look at this one. There's the Springbok team. Nigel, maybe let's start kick it off with you. That one. From the team, what stands out? Something that's caught your eye from the Springbok team, as you said, not that much different to the one you'd be used to from the World Cup, but a couple of new faces, a couple of guys on the fringe, and then of course our very famous 6-2 split back in operation.
Yes, I see that. Do you know Ulster actually tried that in a game after the World Cup and went for a 6-2 split and lost 2 backs in the first 15 minutes. We ended up with forwards playing the back line, 2 scrum halves on the pitch, and it didn't work. That's the gamble of it. It's worked for South Africa so far, but I can't help but feel you're going to come unstuck with that at some stage if injuries go the wrong way. I know you can move players about, but they're not specialists in what they do. So it's looking after your players is very key. And you've done that so far. In fairness, you've done that. I don't think there's any real surprises in the starting 15. You can tell me differently, obviously. The big names are in there, aren't they? Couple on the bench, perhaps. It's good to see. I never get that 23. Sasha, I'm going to call him Feinberg. No, I'm not going for that. Good to see Stenekamp. He'll get a run out. And Van Staden, what we've seen him before. I mean, that's a really, really good side. That's not a side going out to make up the numbers, is it?
No, definitely. I think just in terms of a little bit of freshness, it is Stenekamp. He was part of the biggest squad, but it looks like he's starting to move a little bit closer, especially with Kitshoff now sidelined at the moment. So that's probably one of the big guys. And Salman Murati's always been touted by the South Africans as a youngster to really be have a big future ahead of him, and he had that leadership role at the Stormers. So he's also now starting to move into the system. And then I'll just bring me in. I think the big thing though that and sometimes it's the frustration of the South Africans that Rassie Erasmus does enjoy his multi-skilled backs and even forwards of guys like Kwagga Smith, and we sometimes think no, you need to pick the specialist, but he likes to try a guy who's usually a fly-off to go and play inside centre or go and do duty on the wing, and that is though the thing that gives him the luxury of playing a 60 split me.
Of course, yeah, versatility is quite high up in the priority list for Rassie. If he loves his versatile players, he loves testing players and playing them in different positions, different roles. So if you want to play for the Springboks, it's not good enough to just be one-dimensional. You've got to bring something more to the table. Having said that, I think that there's just something a little bit. It's difficult to criticize a team, any team that Rassie picks, because I mean it's Rassie. He's proven himself and he's done so much right. But it's just something is off for me in the balance there of the bench. It's not your typical, as we used to know it, bomb squad. You had your Quagga coming from the bench. You had your Damian Willemse. It looks like a little bit of inexperience there on 22, 23 all of a sudden. Gerard he's got so much potential. But obviously it's not. I don't feel the same about this bench and the impact they can make as I do about a Louere, the Jager being there, and some of the benches of the past that we've had. So I feel a little bit. We've taken a little bit of a step back, but you've got to do that if you want to develop new players, if you want to bring new players through, and. No doubt about it. There's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of potential there. It's just if it comes down to the last 10 or 20 minutes, and you're going to ask these guys or require them to win the game. You've got Malcolm Marx there. That's great. But if you put on the rest of the forwards, RG Snyman can also make a big impact. I don't think there's anything wrong with the props. It's just it just feels a little bit off balance. And yeah, I don't know if it's interesting. Look, obviously I'm a big Quagga Smith fan, but it's interesting that Evan Roos is not part of the 23. For me, it's still. I would have thought maybe a bit more like for like at 8, and then Quagga is, for me, one of the best impact players in the world. You still bring him on for the last 35 minutes, and you sort of stick to what you know. But yeah, like I said, it's difficult to go against anything that Rassie does. That starting 15 is as good as it gets, and that's a proper team, yeah.
I think you touched on the loose forwards there, Jacques. We are asking a lot of Quagga Smith. I mean, pound for pound, he's incredibly strong, but he's not Dwayne Vermeulen or Jasper Wiese. I don't think, he's not quite as abrasive, quite as physical and in your face. He's obviously he's got a lot going for me. He's very dynamic, as you say, from the bench, but it feels to me like we're putting a lot in Pieter Steff to really be that big physical in-your-face presence, because Sia is also not always. He's almost a little bit more of a hybrid. Quagga's a hybrid, and Pieter Steff is going to have to be the one that really brings it. And then we don't even have that real impact loose forward. We've only got a guy who's going to play to the breakdown. So there's definitely a little bit of a target on the breakdown. It feels there Nigel, with Quagga, he's going to probably play to the breakdown even from 8. Rassie doesn't mind having someone do that from 8. You've got Malcolm Marx off the bench who does help with the fetching, and then Marco van Staden having another breakdown specialist come off the bench. So it could be that they feel they just want to maybe absorb a little bit or counterbalance the attacking flow of Ireland, where they use that phased attack, and you just feel you can't allow them to get 10 straight phases, and maybe that's why we've gone with almost the extra fetcher, if you want, just to have that possibility, try and stop that phase flow of Ireland.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, I'm just looking at the Ireland back row. Van der Vlier's on, so he's quite mobile. Beyond that, you're looking at just a couple of heavy mobsters, really, and Doris and the old stager Pom. As you can see, and this is what, as you guys probably know, I go online and I have a right old ding dong with some Safa fans, and I've got some really good friends as well who are South Africans. But you look at that South African side, and Rassie is trying some new things, and you can sort of look at, is this our strongest team? Is not. There's actually nothing hanging on this game. This is a really good opportunity to sprinkle in a few new players. We've done one. We've put one new player in Osborne, and he's played out of position. I fully expect him to be tested this weekend, fully, and we'll see how he goes. But on the back rows, I think it's a like-for-like back row, honestly. I mean, I know what you're saying about there's no Dwayne Vermeulen types in there, but there's no Dwayne Vermeulen types in the Irish back row either, so they're not going to face that. I think they're looking at the dog of O'Mahony. Van der Vlier gets around. Doris is quite a good carrier, very good defender. It's not the most mobile back row. Ireland could put on the pitch. But it's a hard-working back row. I mean, at the end of the day, this is going to be decided up front, guys. We know that. It's only the margin out the backs, isn't it? So it will be interesting to see how those two back rows fare up. The front five is going to be very key as well, because at the end of the day, if one side dominates the other, that's the game. Really, because scrum penalties will become an issue. So we'll go through the team here. Obviously, young Casey's playing at 9. It's a big call for him, but Gibson Park is injured, so it's natural that he steps up. Crowley is the incumbent 10. The shirt's his. I fully thought they'd pick Henshaw, Aki and Henshaw, because Ringrose has not actually played very much competitive rugby since his injury, so probably a bit silly to stick him in as a starter. And the back row, Lowe, Nash and Osborne. Nash has really played well for most of the season. I think he's a good pick. Lowe picks himself at the moment. Osborne's the only one, really, I think that maybe raised a few eyebrows. I mean, Rassie picked this team last week, but I'm going to be honest with you guys, a blind dog in the street could have pretty much picked this team last week. That's how much Ireland buried their selection, And I said that last week. We know who the team's going to be, And then, of course, our bench is fairly predictable as well. There's been calls for Frawley to put in as a backup 10. They want him as a 10. He doesn't play 10 for Leinster, but he might play some form of 10 for Ireland, which is strange. Jimmy O'Brien was injured. That's why Osborne's in this week, by the way. He hasn't been picked over him. Apparently Jimmy O'Brien is injured. I watched the game of Bulls against Leinster, and a couple of things struck me about that game. Was that, and I'm not saying South Africa will do the same, but they might. Well, they certainly will for 15, I think. Was that early in the game, they kicked to Lowe's wing with Peterson chasing, and it nearly paid off. After that, it didn't. The ball was coming back with too much interest off his boot. They then switched to the left wing and kicked it to Larmer, but it was Lowe, the back row player, that was chasing it. And they made a lot of ground, because Lowe and O'Brien struggled. Larmer and O'Brien struggled with Lowe. And Leinster never reacted to that. And I was shouting at the screen because, as we all know, they can't hear you in South Africa, shouting at the screen. Why is nobody covering this? Why are they not coming across and covering this? And they did it so often. It wasn't like they did it the odd time. They did it so often. And every time Lowe got the ball, he trampled over one of them, if not both of them. I was like going, this is just bizarre. And you have to remember that's most of the Ireland team that was playing that day. So I know it's different coaches, and it is, and it's a different level of rugby, and it is. And I hope he can get those guys back up and playing the way they were, in the last few years, because they've not had a lot of success lately. But it was the tactics. They didn't watch. They had their own plan, their own defensive plan, but they weren't watching what the Bulls were doing, and they weren't reacting to it. And that's a very Irish thing, I think, at times,
I must say it looked, I mean, Willie had it on a string that day, and he was just he was kicking at will. It was really strange that no one picked it up, and I was actually looking at this now. Mir, it is a lot different from, I mean, Ireland. You could in your sleep know Gibson Park, Sexton. It's a settled combination, and all of a sudden you're looking at 9, 10, and 15. Being less experienced. Obviously Crowley he's been involved a lot, but it's just not the same, and especially against a South African team that's very tactical, and you've got Faf Pollard and Willie Leroux. I mean, that's your old guard. That's not even trying things. That's no one new. That's not exciting. That's stock standard tactical Springbok rugby. So I think you can absolutely be sure, and Nash as well, they're going to be tested tactically by the Springbok team.
Definitely, if you look at 9, 10, and 15, as old Swiss there from the Lions used to call it, it was what did he call it? The rugstring. Spine, yes. Yeah, the spine of the team. It's certainly on paper, we've got so much experience there. We've basically got veterans in those positions. And Crowley, I think he's on 11 or 12 tests, so he's still it's still finding his feet, in international rugby, and it will obviously this will be a big occasion for him as well, coming to South Africa and playing it a lot. And he's young. I mean, what is he? 24, 25 years old. Osborne, he's 22 years old. So yeah, they're gonna have to get into the game very quickly. But as always, one thing I've learned out of this URC is that the Irish teams are some of the best coached teams and most coachable players in the world. They really can put together phases, and they can execute what a coach expects from them. So it all depends on what plan the coach is going to have for the Springboks on Saturday. From our side, if I look at our previous test, we suddenly giving the ball so much air. We are light years away from the days where Faf was just kicking the ball from every single position that he could. And suddenly you've got the wings finding themselves in open space. Jesse Creel suddenly evolved in this player that can he's now a veteran Springbok, and suddenly his option taking is just next level. He's releasing the ball at exactly the right times, and it didn't used to be that way when he was younger. So I'm sort of torn whether we're gonna test them all that much in the air, and whether we're gonna mix it up and give it a lot of air. I think we might just see the ball going that classic Pollard to Willie Leroux at the back, and it's basically two passes, and it's the whole width of the field, and the wings getting the ball there, on that side. So I think
not before they've kicked it to Osborne quite a few times. Come on, let's be honest.
I think we're gonna run the ball more than we think. I think from what I've seen, I'm seeing Tony Brown there. I'm seeing a lot of backline moves in the last test. I don't know if that was a free license. Probably going to be a little bit more conservative this weekend, but I think we're gonna take them on with running the ball line. I don't know. What do you think?
I think the interesting one is, and I want to ask Nigel as well, because I'm sure they do see a lot of is the decision of Pollard ahead of Manie Libbok. I mean, if we were going to play a little bit more the expansive game, I don't know, maybe he's going for the 1-2 sucker punch there, or the rope-a-dope, thinking that we're going to do something and then doing the other by having Pollard and playing an attacking game. But it's just, Manie is more the guy that unlocks the team in terms of an attacking option. So it would be a little bit strange having Pollard be the one that pulls the strings there, but maybe they'll have maybe they're taking a leaf from the Bulls playbook and having Willie come in and play the distribution role a lot more often, and especially because Manie isn't there. So in that case, and I don't think it'll mean that you see a lot less kicking. I just think you'll see a bit more of that attacking kicking, the little chips over the top and the cross kicks, the kick pass, which everyone has become so good at. I mean, Manie does that at will, I think 4 or 5 times a game, and Willie showed he did it 4 or 5 times in the space of a half, I think. So maybe we'll see a little bit more adventure in terms of that, but I just think it'll be a missed opportunity if they don't test out those back guys. Obviously, you've got the dangerous boot of Low from the back there. If you get it wrong, he's going to pump you back 10 or 20 meters from where you started. So it is a little bit of a risky play. But yeah, I'd be surprised, Nigel, if we go too far away from. I'm not saying we. You used to say you'd have to get Voltaren for the game because you're going to be looking up and down the whole time. But I think it might be a little bit less of that, maybe more left to right.
Pollard's very reliable. He's a bit like I would have called the lad Byrne that played for Ireland. Very reliable, not very exciting at times. You're right, Libbok's the more expressive player. He'll open defenses up more. He'll try to more. There's more variety to his game. But so is Crowley compared to Byrne. So I think we've got 2 players there of different experience that will mix things up. I think you're totally right. Vinny's going to come into play, and he's going to come in as a playmaker. Exactly as the Bulls use him, and he's good at that. That's why they'll do it. I think he's good at that. They can bring him into the line, and it's like it's having another 10 in there, another decision maker. You've also got Faf at the base of the scrum, and he's one of those 9s that can create from the base of the scrum. He can create something himself off the base of the scrum. Casey is seen as the same. I don't think for me, he's not the same level as Faf. He's a similar type of player, very small, very nippy. I actually think the guy on the bench might show more, if I'm honest. Blade. I've watched him a lot over the years. He's the older player, not really figured for Ireland, but he's a very dangerous 9. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. I've absolutely no doubt Faf's going to target Casey. It's going to happen. He's gold for him. He's going to try and get under his skin and wind the young fella up. That's what Faf does. He does it with big guys. He's definitely going to do it with somebody his own size, isn't he? So that'll be an interesting. That 9 competition is going to be interesting because if we take it that the forwards may cancel each other out a bit, which can happen, then it comes down to who can make the changes in the back line. And I think at 9, that's going to be interesting. I think the 10s may cancel each other out a little. The centres, there's not a massive gap in those either. The back three are going to be interesting. Absolutely. I think the back 3 is going to be very key in this game. Nash is slightly inexperienced as well. He's not played a lot of games for Ireland, but he's very quick, very good ball handler, very good carrier. We know what James Lowe brings. We know what Osborne brings as a centre, which is more where he plays, sort of on the centre. He's a big, fast carrying lad. It is a bit of a head scratcher for me that somebody so inexperienced is playing a fullback in a game like this. Because as I said to you at the beginning, you just know what's coming here. You just know what's coming. He's going to be tested and early.
And I mean, if it goes wrong early, he's going to keep on getting tested. I think that's the problem you have. It just that's perpetual. It'll keep on coming.
Of course,
and Mir, I saw a comment there as well saying that we might miss Mapimpi. Someone said that next to the side in terms of the high ball and physicality. But I actually think the two smaller wingers are very good under the high ball. Especially the attacking high ball. They're quite good at chasing it and getting that big leap going. And I think some of those skills come in there where they catch it, almost with their hands instead of the basket type of catch. So I don't think it's necessarily a weakness in terms of the aerial battle with the two smaller, quicker wings that the Springboks are playing this week. It's not something that they usually do, but Rassie has gone for this week.
Yeah, Osborne is a tall guy. He's over 1.9 meters. So that extra 10-20 centimeters we've seen with Williams, the guy from Wales. How he's done very well in the air against South Africa, So I agree 100% with you. The two guys we have, there's nothing wrong with them in the air. I just you said now if we test him early and he drops one, then it happens the whole day. But the problem is if you test him earlier and he catches the first 3 or 4, you sort of on a road to nowhere. You're wasting wasting ball and time and space. So it cuts both ways. And he will know that, and it's very important. That's like a first scrum of the game. You've got to exert the dominance there. So it's going to be very interesting. And I think within the first 10 minutes, looking at what South Africa does, how Osborne responds. Nash, on the other hand, he's a smaller. He's in the 1.7. So not that height is the only thing about how you're going to perform in air, but it does play a role when you going 50-50 for a ball. It can play a role. So it will be interesting what they do. I just got a little bit of a heart palpitation now when Nigel spoke about the two forward packs cancelling each other out, because if that's going to happen, if the Irish are gonna contain your Ebens and your Pieter Steffs and a Frans Malherbe and a Malcolm Marx when he comes on, then we're going to have a hell of a test match. I can tell you that if they can bring that. I just think there we've got a bit of an edge. Sorry, Nigel, I don't want you. I've just met you. I don't want you to think I've got some sort of a superiority syndrome or something. But I do think that we have a generational pack at the moment that's really very special, and it's going to take something very special to keep them at bay.
I see. I want to actually, Stefan Blauer's got it on here as well, talking about the new rule and how it could be in Ireland's advantage. But I think it's other teams, maybe Scotland or something like that. But I don't think any talk in the change rooms and things like that for Ireland is how to avoid a scrum or getting away with things. I mean, I'm sure Furlong and the lads are saying that, listen, this is where we're winning this game. We are walking into, it's not exactly the Lions Den being Loftus, it's the bull crawl, but they're walking in there and they're definitely not there to stroke the bull. They're going to take it by the horns and give it horns. Nigel, I'm sure that's Sheenan and the guys are going to roll up their sleeves and really want to take that pack head on.
Well, of course they are. I think actually Tag Furlong, who I think is a superb player, but I don't think we've been seeing the best of him lately, if I'm honest. I don't think he's as good as he has been. So we'll be interested to see how he goes, and that will determine how long he stays on the pitch, frankly. Porter, I don't have a huge issue with him, and Shane's a very mobile, very, very good hooker. So second rows, Byrne, McCarthy. Not sure it's a pairing I would go with, because McCarthy's a dedicated four. Byrne's a versatility player, isn't he? He's not the biggest lock, so I think what you get in his mobility is rucks, and I don't think he jackals as much as he used to, frankly. Not from what I can see. I think you lose in bulk. I think I'd have much rather had somebody of the stature of a Ryan or a Henderson. I know Henderson's injured, maybe Ryan is as well, but I would rather have somebody of that stature in there, or to bring off the bench to partner, because you need big lads on these games. You need big lads. And McCarthy's very young as well, of course. I think he's going to be a super player going forward. He's only 22, I think, 22 or 23.
But he's big, eh? He's very big.
He's a big cub, and he's just going to get bigger.
He's going on 130 kgs, very close to that. And I remember that game against the French earlier this year. I think he got the man of the match. He was devastating, So if he can do that, then it's game on, eh?
Oh, Ryan's on the bench. Sorry, Ryan's on the bench. Actually, I'd have started Ryan, frankly, but anyway, you've got Baird to come off. My favourite box kick at 21. Ringrose, who's obviously coming back from injury. Frawley, whom I don't know where they're going to put him in, but he can play centre. He could go to the fullback as well. Actually, he plays fullback for Leinster quite a bit. Baleam, good to see, good player. Connacht. Healy, he's got to be getting to his last season or two. And Kelleher is just another Shane. Frankly, they're very similar players. And that seems to be the kind of hookers that Ireland are going for at the moment, although the third hooker is Rob Herring. And it's nice to see him there for his experience. Person there that had Tom Stewart there ahead of him, but Rob's got the experience to be in the squad ahead of him. So I think it's going to be a very interesting fight up front, but I think where the experience and inexperience could count, 9's a big one for me, as I said to you. 15's obviously a big one. The thing about 15, though, with Osborne is, they're going to test him. And if he fails the first one, they're going to test him again and again. If he doesn't, he's a very big lad. He's a very fast lad. He's the kind of lad that's going to bring it back at you, So if he catches it and he gets into a bit of space, you'll not stop him straight away unless you're on top of him. And where you've got very small wings coming into attack and a big lad's catching it and going, he might get away. So it'll just be interesting to see how that works. But it's not his position, so we know he's going to be tested. I would have Frawley maybe in there at 15 because he plays there for Leinster quite often. At least he knows the positions. Imagine we're talking at international level. At least he knows the position. But there you go. A few sort of when you look at that team, but then I suppose you guys have the same. And I listened to you talking about your side, a few players that you maybe would have not had there or would have there. But it's going to be a great contest, I think.
We've said it all in terms of the teams, and then Jacques mentioned that he threw it in. Maybe at the end of the day, it's going to be the two tactical minds against each other, and I think that's the sideshow almost. I think mostly you think coaches have done their job by the time the guys run onto the field, and you almost put them outside, you don't factor them in. But just in that little contest, I think there's a little of a sideshow there where the two coaches want to get one over the other one. Nigel, those two, you think who's outsmarting who this weekend?
Well, you get that much media hype, and Rassie likes to play it, doesn't he? But we all have a good laugh at him, but he does get down to the serious business of coaching as well. I mean, that's the primary thing. And I think I don't mean this in an insulting way, he's a little bit like Eddie Jones. He takes the heat off his team by going on the media, whereas Ireland just go quiet. They just go, it's all white noise, we're not interested, which is okay as well. It's okay as well. There's no good or there's no right or wrong way to do it. I mean, the tactics of the teams, it will be slightly different, I think, in that I think that we talked about, like, well, he's going to come into the attacking line. I have no doubt about that. We don't really know what Osborne will do. They must have a plan for him, I'm sure. We haven't seen him, so we don't know. We'll see on Saturday. Will he go? It's going to be a lot. Well, if Conor Murray comes on, it's going to go into the air a lot. We know that. Okay, that's why I call him. It's my little name for him, Boxy McBox Kick. That's just my nickname for him. But Casey will as well. Casey will take the ball in hand as well, though. He's a bit like Faf that way because he's very small, very quick. So he's going to take the ball off the base and go at times as well, I think. But, I mean, guys, you're at home. You're number one in the world. Your favourites, like, I'm sorry, I know you'd like to say you're not. Your favourites this weekend. I think we can all predict whatever. I think it's going to be a close game, but South Africa are favourites this weekend, especially at Loftus.
I'll finish it off with each of you. Just say, Amir, where does South Africa win it this weekend if they are to win it?
You have to win it. We have to win it up front. We have to win it up front. We have to dominate. We have to smash them. We have to move them back and keep doing it for 80 minutes. Look, it's a new game. It's a new dawn. It's new things happening. But it's not always been easy for Ireland in South Africa. I'm talking specifically fixtures in South Africa. And it's funnily enough, it's one of those teams we don't play that much. I don't know what happened over the years, but if you look at the amount of test matches, they sort of, the Ireland tests are always sort of lagging behind some of the other countries we've faced. But we've just got to get on the field and win it up front. As simple as that. I think the new energy can go either way. Can go either way. You can either, when the going gets tough, look for that experience and it's not there, or they can just bring that rejuvenation and that energy that you need to. And I think Rassie has proven he knows how to get the best out of players. Stenekamp has had a good season at prop as well. He's done it against Leinster. He did very well on the day there, scrumming wise. So I just think that we'll know after about 10 to 15 minutes, we'll know who's going to win the game, because you will see it in the dominance. And if it's going to become an arm wrestle, and we're going to keep them in the game, then we might be in for an upset. It's not impossible. Ireland is a great side. They don't forget their tour to New Zealand last year. They've done some incredible things, and they would like to put this one on their CV. Obviously, the result that will get the rugby world buzzing is if Ireland wins. I mean, that's the one that will really sort of get social media and everything going. If Ireland had to win it, if South Africa win, it's sort of it just happened what everybody said would happen. South Africa win, but if Ireland win it, then it's gonna be big. So I'm very excited. I just can't wait for the game to start.
Mir, I'm gonna look you up at halftime, and then you're gonna have to say who's gonna win this game, because you say it's gonna be known after 10 minutes. I have a feeling we might be chewing our nails until minute 75. So let's wait and see on that one. Nigel, if Ireland are to win, you probably was gonna say it's gonna hang in all up to the pack. But what do they have to do to win this one?
No, I think that I don't see Ireland dominating the pack. I see Ireland competing in the pack. That's what they've got to do. Because that's all you got to do, really, compete. Once you compete, you're in the game. If you dominate, you get more penalties on the other side, yeah. But they've got to compete and get the ball to the backs. Ireland have this awful habit of playing games and thinking that they can run through players. That's changing. I'm delighted to see it. I like to see contact and offload, keep the ball alive. They've got to start doing that more. They used to throw it to Bundy. He would go and take the hit, recycle it. We need to be getting it out to the wings. We need to be getting it out to Henshaw, who seems to be hitting a vein of form again and fitness. So we've got to compete up front, secure our own ball, try and make as much trouble for South Africa on their ball as we can. And I think probably the right back row to do it there. Peter O'Mahony's going to get in their faces. You know that. He does it every game, so he's going to do that. And let's see what the backs can do with it. I think it'll be a tight game unless there is domination. If there's one pack dominates the other, say South Africa dominate Ireland, yeah, we could probably tell after 15 minutes who's going to win it. I think he's right. If that dominance doesn't happen, then we're in for a game. And obviously, I hope we're in for a game.
Nigel, thanks so much for joining us all the way from Ireland and giving your insights. We, as you can hear from the show, we can't wait for this one. We appreciate you giving us some insights, and yeah, we just hope it's a crack of a series either way. Nice to see the internationals back on, and obviously it's great for us getting back to the park. So we're looking forward to it. And let's wait and see on Saturday whether it's going to be the smart play of Ireland taking this one or the stuff them up physics of the Springboks. Enjoy the rugby, everyone. Ons sien julle weer volgende week hier op Die Losgemaal.